Hi, in this video we will cover how we can log in into the C4c environment, what all different work centers we have in the SAP C4c environment, which all are for the administrators, which are for the end users. After that we will discuss C4c organization structure, and then we will come to the C4c reporting, how we can create the custom reports in the C4c environment. So I'll go here. So this is my C4c environment. So basically we can access everything on the web. What is the main purpose of the cloud? So now let's log in. So my C4c environment, it comes in two modes. So the first one is the UI5 mode, and the second one is my Silverlight mode. So my UI5 or the HTML5 mode is mainly for the end users. So we can see here in the URL that it's my HTML5 mode. So this mode is meant for the end users. So all our end users, they will access my C4c environment using this mode. And then we have the Silverlight mode. So my Silverlight mode is meant for the administrators in the system. So all the admin activities, all the things, all the work centers related to the administrator, so that we can see in the Silverlight mode. So all the things which you see it on the top, like the new business, service entitlement, product, customer, people, so all these are the different work centers we have in the C4c environment. So we create the roles, and using those roles the users, they can have the access to all these work centers specific to their roles. Now let's see how it looks like in the Silverlight mode. So to go to the Silverlight mode, we have to click on the adapt, and then we will click on this launch in Microsoft Silverlight. So when you will open it for the first time in the Silverlight mode, so if the Silverlight is not not installed on your machine, so it will ask you to install. And once it is done, so you will be able to open it in the next time directly. So we can see here that now we are in the Silverlight mode, and here this is my HTML5 mode. So in the Silverlight mode also we have the work centers on the top. So all these are my work centers, and then we have the different activities which can be done within each and every work center. So like here I can see that under the business analytics work center, I can create the reports, I can create the data sources, and similarly for the business configuration we have different activities, and we can see the complete list of work centers from here. So if I click on this icon, I'll be able to see all the different work centers which are there in my C4c environment. So all these are my different work centers which I have, and we control the user access using roles, and then we assign the specific work centers to the particular roles, and those roles will be further assigned to the users. So this is how we control the data in the C4c environment. So now let's go back to the presentation. So this slide is basically telling the functionalities of few of the work centers which we have. However, we have a long list of work centers in the C4c environment which will be covering in the different sessions, but this is the overview, and we will provide the high level overview of few of the work centers in the C4c environment. So we have the work center activities, which is meant for the access information about appointments, emails, phone calls, and tasks. Similarly, we have the activity planner where we can plan the activities such as surveys and tasks to use when conducting the customer visit. Then we have the administrator work center. So this is to access the activities we need to perform for setup, configuration and operations. So this work center also provides the access to the business analytics views that enable you to create the custom reports. After that, we have the analysis work center, which is meant to access the system analytical data and reports. Then we have the application and the user management. So this is to process the system notifications. Similarly, we have the business analytics to create and edit the custom reports which we have just seen in the environment. Then the business configuration, which is to access the implementation project including the scoping and the configuration activities. Then we have the business partners, which is meant for accessing the business partner data including the account hierarchies. So these are the few examples of the work centers and the description of what we do inside them. Similarly, we have other work centers like product characteristics, sales, marketing. So we have n number of work centers as we have seen in the C4c environment. So now let's cover few of the important topics which are there in the C4c. So the first one is the SAP C4c organizational structure. So for every organization, it is the main part to have their organizational structure defined. And C4c provides us the feature and the functionality using which we can define the organizational structure. So the organizational management is the central source of organizational information in the C4c solution. It is used for modeling the organizational structure and it provides a graphical representation through an organizational chart. So in addition, it will reflect the entities and the aspects of the company. So SAP C4c accesses the organizational management whenever the business processes require information related to company's organization. So then we have a few of the principles on which this C4c organizational structure has to be created. So the first one is the time dependency. So all information stored is time dependent. So when we say it is time dependent, it means that we have to set the dates between which this will be active. So we have to set the active period for any organizational structure here in C4c environment. Secondly, we have the active version versus the planning version. So the system has the ability to differentiate between the planning version and the active version of the organizational information. After that, we have the consistency checks. So there are some checks which help maintaining the organizational management consistent all the time. So we can perform these consistency checks from the C4c environment itself. So we have the option of performing this using the GUI. Then we have the partial activation. So it is possible to activate smaller parts of the organizational structure while continuing to work with the other parts. So it's not like that we have to build the organizational structure complete in one go. Rather, we have the flexibility that we can create the smaller parts and we can activate them first and then we can continue to work on the other parts. So this is how we can create the organizational structures in the C4c environment. So we have to use the administrator work center for this. So now let's go back to the system and see how the organizational structures look like in the C4C environment. Yeah, so we'll go back again to the C4C environment, and this has to be done. The organizational structure has to be created in my Silverlight mode under the administrator work center. So I'll go back to my administrator mode, to my Silverlight mode, and I'll go to the administrator work center. So let's scroll a bit. Yeah, so this is my administrator work center. So from the administrator work center, we can create the organizational structures. So let's click on it. So all these are the activities which can be done from the administrator work center. So first of all, we can set up the organizational structure and establish the teams using the company. Then we can create and maintain the users in the system. So we can manage the business roles, we can manage the employee information, business user information, support and technical user information, and then the work center view restrictions for the local administrators. It can also be managed from the administrator work center under the user management section. Then we can create and maintain the product master data. We can do the product administration. We can specify the product categories under the products. Then we have the system administration. So if we scroll down a bit, we can see the other features. So this is my system administration. So it will help to perform the support functions such as incident handling. So as I told you in the overview session that we can manage the service tickets, we can help all the representatives in the system using the C4C environment. So all these things, they are managed using this incidents. After that, we have the integration. So we can set up and maintain the communication with the external systems. So we can help the users, the existing customers, so they can embed the C4C environment with their on-premise systems as well. So C4C can be integrated with the SAP CRM or SAP ECC on-premise solutions. So this integration has to be done here using the communication systems, communication scenarios, and the communication arrangements within the administrator work center. After that, we have the work distribution, which is to establish the message and the escalation routing. So we can see here that we have the organizational work distribution and the employee work distribution. So basically using this, we will manage like how the request, how the incidents will be escalating, to whom it will go next. So all that hierarchy we can manage here in the work distribution. Then we have the dashboards, which is to create and configure the interactive dashboards. Similarly, we have the code list restrictions. This is to maintain and create the code list restriction. So what do you mean by the code list restriction here is, so let's say if we have any C4C environment and if we are managing the master data for anything. So like if I take the example of the priority of a ticket. So by default, there are certain values which comes in the drop down like low priority, high priority, then the critical, then the medium. So if I want to customize this drop down values, so I can use this code list restriction. This is to customize the data, the master data in the C4C environment. After that, we have this usage and response time statistics. So this is to display and interact with the usage and the response time statistics. It will enable the business option to display the user and the IP address. Then we have the content transfer, we have the layout change history. So it will display the layout changes made in a particular system and its detail. Then we have this language adaptations, then the offline settings. So all these settings we do under the administrator work center. So we were talking about the org structures. So let's see how we can create and maintain the org structures in the C4C environment. So let's click on the org structures here. So this is basically the layout wherein the window wherein we have to manage the org structure data. So in every work center we have this option of showing all the options in the environment, or we can also see which all are relevant to me. So I can see here that I have the option of showing all the data or all the organizational hierarchies only. So, and here we have this find option. So let's say if I want to search for a specific thing and I know the name of it, so I can directly write down the name and I can click on this go to search. So now let's see what will happen if I go to the organizational hierarchies. Yeah, so we can see here that now I have filtered the layout to show only the organizational hierarchies and not all the data which is there in the system. So then we have this option of creating the new. So we can create the new org unit or the sub org unit within the org unit. So this new option we can use to create the new org unit or the sub org unit. Then we have this export option. Using this we can export the data to the Microsoft Excel. Similarly, if I want to delete any existing org structure or the org unit, I can simply select that and I can click on this delete. So now let's open any one of them. So let's say if I open the sales org. So here I can see the details of this. So I can see here the validity. So this is the time dependency which I was talking about. So I can set up the time, like starting from which date this org unit will be valid. Similarly, I can set the limit of this valid to. So till what date, till which date this org unit will be valid. I can change this value using this calendar component, or I can put it as unlimited if I don't want to set any validity. Similarly, we have this data related to this org unit, like what is the name of it, what is the company name, then what is the department name. Similarly, we can manage all the org unit data here. And then we have the functions and we have the employees data here. So if I click on the employees, I can see like who all are the managers here and who all are the employees here. So to assign an employee as a manager for the org unit, that employee must first be assigned to the org unit. So the employee's master record for the manager will show the org unit to which he or she is assigned as an employee. Similarly, the managers, they can be assigned to the multiple org units. So from here we can add the managers and we can add the employees related to this org unit using this add button. So if I click on this add button, I'll be able to select an employee and I can also set the validity in the system. So if I click on this employee, so it will show me the employees in the system and I can select any one of them. So let's say if I want to set Daniel as an employee associated with this org unit, I will select the employee, I'll click on OK. And now I can see that this employee is associated with this sales unit. So this is how we manage the org structures and the subunits and the sub-org units inside them. So these are all the different organizational structures we have. So now let's say if I go to the organizational hierarchy. So if I want to see the organizational hierarchy here, so we have the option of listing it as a list view or as a graph. So let's say if I want to show the graph view of this hierarchy. So I click on this icon and I can see here that this sales 12, it is in the graphical mode now, and if I want to expand the subtree, I can click on this expand subtree, or I can click on this expand all to see what all is there inside each one of them. So this sales underscore 12, it doesn't have the sub-org units, whereas this one, the Almica partners, they have the sub-org units inside them. Tata have the sub-org units inside them. So this way we can expand the subunits and we can collapse the subunits as well. So this is how we manage the organizational hierarchy. We can create and manage the existing org units and the sub-org units in the C4C environment. So now let's go back to the presentation again. Then another important feature in the C4C environment is SAP C4c reporting. So the analytics data in the solution is real time and there is no persistency in a separate business warehouse layer. So basically whatever reports we are generating from the C4C environment, it is the real time data. So there is no business warehouse layer in between where we will have the lag of 1 day or few hours. Rather, every report which we are generating in using the C4C environment, it's a live report based on the real time live data. So the three primary types of analytic features which C4C environment provides to us are the standard reports which are shipped with the solution. So we have few standard reports which are already coming with the C4C solution. Then we can create the custom reports as per our requirement. Similarly, we can also create the interactive dashboards. So we have seen here in the Administrator Work Center that we have the option of creating the interactive dashboards. So for creating the reports, we have to use the Business Analytics Work Center. So when we go to the Business Analytics Work Center, so there we can create the reports for the custom purpose, for the custom use in the C4C environment. So let's go back to the system and see how we can generate the reports out of the C4C environment. So for this we have to go to the Business Analytics Work Center. So if I go here and click on the Business Analytics Work Center, I can see that we have the option of designing the reports. So using this option, I can create the custom reports out of the C4C environment. And then we also have the data sources, so we can get the data from the data sources, the different data sources in the C4C environment, and we can also create our customized key figures. So what is a key figure here? So anything which is quantitative is my key figure. So let's say if I have an organization wherein I have different departments, and then I want to check like what amount of revenue I'm generating every year from each department. So here my year and department, they are the dimensions, and my revenue is my key figure. So I want to see the revenue of each department for each year. So key figure is something which is my quantitative value on which I can perform the aggregation functions. So in C4C environment, I can create the custom key figures as well. So when I say the custom key figure, so there might be certain values, certain calculations which are not performed in the actual data source. So I want to perform those in the C4C environment, and I have that flexibility to do. So I can perform the custom calculations. I can apply certain formulas to get the expected result in the C4C environment. So now let's click on this design reports and see what we have inside. So similar to the other work centers, we have this option of showing all the reports in the system, or we can select the browser based reports, Microsoft Excel based reports, or the my editable reports. Similarly, this find option is to find any report which I know the name of, and then I have this option of grouping the reports. So I can group them by the report type, the assignment status, data source name, created by, created on, changed on, obsolete, and the report name. So the obsolete reports are the one which nobody is using right now, and the status is set to obsolete. Similarly, I have the option of exporting everything to the Microsoft Excel. I can edit the existing reports. I can edit them with the report wizard, with the web browser quick filter, with the Microsoft Excel, or with the web browser HTML5. Similarly, I can create the new report as a copy. When I say the new report as a copy, it means that I can choose existing report as a base for my new report. Similarly, we have the new Microsoft Excel based report and the new report navigation. So this is to create and edit a navigation target. And then I can assign any of the report to my work center. So if I want to see like to which work center this report should be assigned to, so I can simply assign the existing reports to any of the work center. So now let's say if I want to create a new report. So when we have to create the new report, we have 7 steps in it. So the first one is to define the report and select the data source. So first of all, we have to choose the data source from where my report will be getting in the data. So to create the report, we have to select the data source, and then we have to define the key figures. The second step is that we have to select the key figures. So from the existing data source, I can select the key figures, I can select the characteristics or the dimensions, and then I can also create the custom key figures or the custom characteristics if I want. Then we have select the characteristic properties. Then if I want to define any variables to the users, and at last I will review that everything is fine, and I will confirm that okay, I'm good, and create this report. So let's say if I want to give the name of this report as demo report. So here if I want to give the description, I can, but it's not mandatory. So all the things which have the star here, so they are the mandatory and others are the optional one. After that we have to select the data source. So from here I can select the data source. So let's say if I want to select my ticketing data source. Okay, let me see. Yeah. Okay, so might be I'll use the lead to revenue data source here. After that, I will click on next. So in the next window, I will be able to see all the key figures which are associated with this data source. So here I can see that these all are the key figures like the total members, expected value, leads per campaign, campaign count. So all these key figures I have here, and I can use this checkbox to select or deselect the key figures which I want to use in this report. So I can also deselect all if I want, and then I can choose few of them which I need. So let's say I want only the count and the campaign count, and then I will click on next. So here we will select the dimensions. So as I have given you the example, like the year and my department were the dimensions and my revenue was the key figure. So similarly here we have all these as the dimensions or the characteristics, and my key figures were the count and then the values. So we have to select first the key figures and then we have to select the characteristics. Then we have to go to next. So here in this window I can see the characteristic properties. So this is my characteristic. If I want to display it in the report, I will keep it as it is, otherwise I will deselect this value and my value will not appear in the report. Similarly, I have this value selection, so I can put in it as a fixed value selection, no value selection, or using a variable. So this functionality is to provide the end user the option of selecting from the list of values. So if I don't want to have any value selection and I want to show all the values in the report, so I will keep it as it is. Otherwise, I can filter down the data using the fixed value or using the variable. So if I choose the variable, in that case the users will have the flexibility to select from the values. Similarly, we have this hierarchy and no hierarchy. So if there is a hierarchy associated with any characteristic, so we can choose that hierarchy from here. Now if I want to rename any of the characteristics, so I can also rename the characteristic from here. Then do we want to show the master data value? So if we check this, then all the master data values are displayed in the report regardless of whether they are the key figure values or not. So if there are no key figure values, then the dimension will not be shown. But if we select this, that show the master data value, then it will show the values all the time regardless of the key figure values. Then we will click on next, and here we can define any variables. So we can change the sequence in which the variable appear in the selection area. We can hide them, we can rename them. So all the variable related information will be available here and we can manage that from this area. Then we will click on next, which is a review. Yeah, so here I can see that what is the name of my report, what is the description, which data source I have selected, which all key figures I have selected, then what is the characteristics values and what are the properties of it. Then if there are any variables definition, then I can see all that information from this review area. And then at last I have to click on this finish for the confirmation. So now it is asking, like we can see here that it is saved. So now it is asking, like, do I need to create a view for this report in a web browser, or what I want to do next? So do I want to create another report? Do I want to assign this report? Do I want to edit this report? So but for now I will just close it because I don't want to do a next step. So this is how we create the reports in the C4C environment, and then we can have these reports accessible to our end users through which they can analyze the data which is coming from the data source. So this is the end of this session. In this session we have discussed about the C4C overview, and then we have seen what is the organizational structure, what are the work centers, and how we manage the data in the C4C environment, and then at last we have seen what is the process of creating the reports in C4C environment. Thank you.